Why is it so hard for us as nonprofit leaders to pause, to step back and think clearly and strategically, to plan, to take care of ourselves? Why is it so hard to pause? Why should we do it? And how do we create habits of pausing? That's what Kimberly and I are talking about in the second in the sixth series, The Courage to Lead Differently. Let's dive into session 2, The Power of the Pause.
Most of us think leadership is about taking action, but the truth is your leadership becomes more powerful the moment you stop and listen.
And if slowing down feels really, really, really hard for you, you're not alone. It's what most leaders feel when they step into leadership and all of a sudden they get thrown all of the things and tasks they're supposed to do. We're going to talk today about why we don't slow down, why we don't pause, why we should, and how to do that. And feel like we can do that in a way that still fits in with our daily schedule. Before we jump into that, we are going to do some introductions. Kimberly, take it off.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kimberly McKenzie. Thank you so much for being here. I am a leadership coach, former charity executive, mother, stepmother, grandmother, and I live in beautiful Stratford, Ontario. I work with folks who feel out of alignment, are stuck, they're not quite sure why, and they need a little bit of extra support to find their flow again. How about you, Kathy?
Very similarly, but we're of course different. I help women leaders who are drowning in their work, feeling that doubt just take them away all the time and struggling to set those boundaries and lead in a way that feels meaningful. So I help them build that confidence, take back control of their leadership in life, set those boundaries that they need to set so that they can make the difference that they want. I believe that every woman should have that ability to get up every morning, go to work to a job she loves, and still have energy left at the end of the day for the rest of her life. And I don't think we always do that. I too am a mom and a grandma, and I am in beautiful northern Alberta. And no, that is not Edmonton. I am like way farther north than Edmonton. So Kimberly and I connected years ago through the nonprofit sector, but we also connected through our shared stories. And last week we talked about the mistakes that we've made in leadership and, everything from leading like men to thinking we just had to keep doing it. We learned along the way. And through that learning, we've now figured out how to come back and help you not make some of those mistakes. And one of those mistakes is not pausing. So we're going to talk again about why we don't pause, why we should, and how to do it. Kimberly, you want to start with why we don't?
Sure. I mean, I went back in my charity days when I was an executive director. I actually felt that if I paused, people would think I didn't know what I was doing, or I didn't have enough work to do, or that I wasn't effective at my job. In fact, I remember that sometimes I would be the first one in the office in the morning. I would say I was going to a lunch meeting. I would sneak away, have a nap in my car, and then I would be the last person in the office at the end of the day, just so that they could see that I was working really, really hard.
It's funny. I used to sneak away at lunchtime and have a nap too in the grocery store parking lot.
Yeah.
Um, because I couldn't. I mean, young kids up at night, like
Oh,
staying up late to get caught up on the work we're doing. So much was happening, and I never gave myself that space to pause. When I stepped into doing this work, I remember doing a series of interviews with leaders trying to understand, what made effective leadership. And I talked to this one guy, uh, older gentleman, had been in the field for many, many years, well revered in the revered. That's not quite the right word.
regarded.
Regarded in the field, and he was talking about all the stuff that he does, and he used to smoke cigars. And he
In
said,
the office? Did he smoke cigars in the office?
probably at some point, yes, but probably by that point he had stopped. But
Well,
back in the
don't.
day, yes,
Yeah.
smoke cigars. But he would put his feet up on his desk and lean back, just like you're doing,
Oh,
and think. Middle of the afternoon, he would just have a pause in his day and think. And I thought, could you imagine if a woman did that? Like,
yeah.
could you just, a man could get away with it, but a
Yeah.
woman would not. There's no way we're going to put our heels up on the desk. Not that
No.
many of us wear heels anymore. And just kind of do that. So there's
Mhm.
this, not only is it just that we don't think we can pause, but we don't think that as women, we are allowed to, we have to work harder. We have to demonstrate what, our worthiness in different ways.
So we've never been modeled. We've never been taught how to pause. We feel like we have too much to do to pause. It looks lazy, or it might appear as if we don't know what we're doing. And we know that as women, we have to work extra hard to be taken seriously in the workplace.
Yeah, all of those things.
Mm.
So part of it's the imposter syndrome, right? Like if you want to name it, it's that I'm not, I'm scared to do this. Um, but it's so important to do. Um, in fact, we must do it. If we really, 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 truly want to be effective leaders, we must do it. So we're going to talk about why we should do it. There are tons of reasons why we should pause. I think one we just said, physically, we're exhausted. You cannot continue to go at this pace long term. I get it. You're in the middle of accreditation, or the big fundraiser's coming up, or you're going on holiday and you got to get the work done before you. There's times when you got to just go, 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 go. But long-term stamina, that sustainable productivity, there's no way our bodies are going to do that. And we talked about this on our last call. If you try to do that, your hair falls out. You end up depressed. I had back problems. I could barely walk at different points in time.
Mhm.
Uh, you have this whole bunch of things that go in your body, mind, and soul because you're exhausted.
Yeah.
So, number one, physically, you just can't do it.
Physically, your body needs a break. I also love what happens to your brain when you stop to take a pause. And I don't know about you, but back in those days for me, I would often have solutions coming to me at the craziest times of day. Like in the middle of the night, I would wake up, and I learned to actually have a notepad beside the bed, because I would wake up in my sleep, have all sorts of really great ideas, and if I didn't write them down right then and there, I would forget them by the time I woke up in the morning. So I was worrying about forgetting them and then not getting any sleep. I don't know if that's probably maybe just a me thing, but that's what I used to do. That happened to you too? and
100%.
and in the shower, when you can't write anything down, it's like, oh,
Or
I know what
driving.
we need to do. Yeah, or out in nature. And so that's when our brain actually has time to process
I talk about it like a snow globe, right? Like there's all this stuff going on. Unless you stop and let everything kind of settle, you
information.
can't sort out what's there.
Mhm. And that's not just us, that's not anecdotal. Actual neuroscience proves this to be true, because the clarity and the calm comes from different parts of our brain. When we're in survival mode, we're working back here, and we're in calm, clear thinking, productive mode, we're up here. And that's a matter of it's a brain hack, really.
It is. And you talk about survival modes. Think about survival mode. The bear's chasing me. I am only worried about running down that path. If the bear's chasing me, I'm running down that path and somebody's on the side of the path crying, I have zero capacity, to see peripherally. Literally, you talk about brain science, your peripheral vision narrows when you're in stress mode. So you can't see them. You don't have the capacity for empathy,
Mhm.
compassion. Like it's just not there. And all of those things are needed.
Mhm. You know, I love talking to you so much because I get so fired up and I get really excited, and I just had that instinct of, okay, we're talking about a pause. I'm going to take a moment to be here with you and take a pause and just appreciate these conversations. So, we've never been taught how to pause. We need to be intentional around practicing it. And it provides us with a moment of calmness and clarity, and you know this is why I love the what do you call it, the leadership loop, the
The infinite leader.
infinite leadership loop in your book,
Yeah.
because it gives us a really nice, first of all, it reminds us, there's the book, got mine right here, and it reminds us that, when we pause, we can start to be curious about a situation. And let's take an example. Huh. Let's take an example. You have a staff member that just really pissed you off. They
Never
just did
happens.
something. so stupid and you can't believe it because you talked about it yesterday. Now you've got to go talk to your boss about it, and you're stuck in the middle between what you perceive to be incompetence and a need for approval.
Yeah.
That's actually brilliant because you are stuck between those two things so often. But if we pause, and you've always got 30 seconds, 60 seconds before we react, then we can do what you call pondering, or I like to think of as being curious.
Yes.
Huh, who owns the problem? What's really going on here? And where is the yes?
Yeah.
And so that then you can pivot from anger to proceeding to find solutions for everybody, right? To finding the yes for everybody. The pause is critical for that process.
So to back up, the infinite leadership loop starts with a pause. Then, as Kimberly says, we ponder, we think, we what's going on here? What's the real problem? We pivot or have a different perspective or see things differently, hopefully. And then we proceed back into action with our people. In my membership site, I have a little assessment on the whole loop. And you get points, you rate them. Do I do this? Do I like pause in my day? Do I think? Do I take time to slow down and think? Do I ever consider changing how I'm seeing things, looking at a different perspective? You get points for it. You score yourself. At the end, you add them all up to give yourself a rating on how am I doing, like being a self-reflective leader. Pause counts twice in this model. Because if you never pause, you never do the self-reflection. You never think differently or open yourself up to seeing different perspectives. You never do the rest of the work to be intentional in how you're going into that meeting, that when somebody just pissed you off and you want to strangle them, if you never do the pause piece.
I love the concept of calm leadership.
Mm,
I love I love that because with the power of the leadership pause, we can then move forward with a confidence and a calmness around either what our next steps are, or being curious and leaning on your team to find out what they are, or being curious and finding out from your team what they need. Because there is absolutely nothing worse to kill a culture than a frantic, erratic leader.
yes. Yes.
So the pause really gives you the opportunity to model a calmness for everybody, and that, of course, helps create sustainable leadership.
Yes. Which is the goal. You said calm. I said intentional. Another word is purposeful. And
Mhm.
Kevin Cashman, who is a beautiful leader, coach as well, he says paradoxically, pause powers purposeful performance.
Oh,
Para-
pause powers purposeful performance. I want to write
Paradoxically,
that
though,
down.
paradoxically. So it doesn't seem like it, which reverts back to our
Right,
beginning of our conversation. I don't have enough time to pause. I cannot
right.
slow down. I got things to do. Paradoxically, when you do slow down, pause powers purposeful performance. And I think that's what we're getting at today. It doesn't feel like you have time. It doesn't seem like it's going to make that big of a difference. It's
Yeah.
going to appear, or you're worried it's going to appear that you're lazy. But it is so, so powerful.
Mhm.
Ready to get into the house?
Yeah, here's the thing. I need to just take a step back and say, I've got 1,000 tabs open. Tasha was right about LinkedIn Live. She was right. Like, it's
Shout
a
out to
tough nut
Tasha
to
and the
crack.
Hive.
What's that?
Shout out to Tasha and the Hive.
Shout out to Tasha. Yeah, thank you. Were right. We're doing LinkedIn Live anyway. But I don't know if people are there, but I just want to make a note that we'll put that link, any links in the comments, because I'm not looking at the chat
There
right
are some
now.
people watching live. If you have comments, please pop them in. I've got it open so I can see your comments. There's a
Oh,
bit of a
good.
delay.
Yeah,
And yes, we'll pop some links in here as we're chatting away,
great.
and making sure
And
that
you also mentioned the resource on your website
yes,
around, yeah, and so we'll put that link in the
yes,
comments as well. We'll put all the links in the comments because this thing lasts long after the chat.
yes, yes, yes.
So Kathy.
Yes.
A little further along my leadership journal, I had the joy of working at King and Bay downtown across from Roy Thompson Hall. And at that time, my fifth story office had a window and there was construction outside the window. So I actually got to see one of those big skyscrapers down there be built from below me and then watch it. And so I would take a pause and I would just sit and I would just watch construction. And I started to get very comfortable doing that. And I think that was when I started to really appreciate the pause. And in my next job as executive director, I would tell my staff after I went for my walk at lunch, I'm having my nap now. I'm locking my door. I'm having a nap for 15 minutes. I will come back and I will feel great and be present for you. And then it became normal. And they all knew that I knew that I had to prioritize that. I had 4 hours of commuting every day. I had to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get into the how to.
Well, the first thing that I think we need to know about the how to is it will not happen on happenstance. You must schedule pauses in. Um, and we're going to talk about different kinds of pauses, but we think sometimes that, oh yeah, I'll take my lunch break. I'll make sure I have time to go for a walk. I'll make sure that I have time to plan that, but we don't. So the very, 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 very first thing is schedule it in. There are different kinds of breaks that we're going to talk about. Body break is one. And Kimberly just alluded to that with the nap thing. And I said I nap too. I used to have one staff that would come into we had different sites, and she was traveling and going to visit families. We were doing parenting supports. So she was going from family to family to family. And she would stop at my office in between. She'd be like, I'm going to nap in the boardroom. She'd literally lay down on the floor in the boardroom and have a nap. And again, 15 minutes. I have heard a zillion times people say, I'm not a napper. I have to nap too long, naps, blah, 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 blah. Please, again, pause, ponder, pivot. Do the research around napping. Learn how to nap. I had to teach myself how to nap. Learn how to do it. But that's going to give you that stamina that you desire. It does not have to be a sleep nap. Resting your eyes and looking out the window at the construction is good for your eyes. Our eyes on a computer all day are just killing us. So rest. Body break, soul break. We just did it a minute ago. Just that deep breath, sink into the moment and ground yourself, right? Um,
Yeah.
go ahead. You want to
And
say
about
something?
that, yeah, I do. I have two things that I want to say. One, I see where the chat is, and I see that Shannon posted that boundaries are hard to find support for.
Yes.
That really speaks to, and thank you for that, Shannon. That really speaks to the need to set expectations and to talk about this with your team, and or maybe bring one of us in to talk about it if you can't talk about it, but to really talk about culture and the importance of maintenance and sustainable leadership. If you call it sustainable leadership instead of nap time, chances are you'll get more buy-in, right? But they're exactly the same thing. And the other thing that I wanted to say
Well,
that I don't remember, you were talking about pauses, but different kinds of pauses. Yeah, no, it's lost me. Let's move on to another one and it'll come
I
back.
was just going to say,
Oh, I know what it is, Kath. I know what it is. I know what it is. When folks, come into a coaching session with me and they've carved out and they didn't put a 5-minute buffer on either side and they just plow into a coaching session, they're like, okay, I'm here. This is my next meeting. Let's go. Whoa. And it's like, wait a second, wait 1 second. This is your time. Let's take a moment and we can actually pump the brakes for them.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's the mind break. When we go from meeting to meeting to meeting, which is what we're doing now, Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, but we're running from meeting to meeting. There's a residual from that last meeting, the energy, the to-dos that you have, the emotions that are stirring, that comes with you to that next meeting. And this is why that soul and that body break and that little teeny breath break, 60 seconds, 30 seconds, it's enough to shake off some of the shit from the last meeting.
Yeah.
and bring yourself to this meeting. It's why we struggle so much with the balancing task and relationship in meetings, because we come into the next one-to-one and we're like, okay, what do we got to cover, right? Um, and we need to slow down and say, hey, how's your dog? I know he was sick yesterday. Like,
Mhm.
it's that simple, but you're not going to do that because remember, we're in survival mode. We're not seeing somebody crying on the side of the road. We're
Mhm.
focused on the task in front of us, and you have to slow down,
Mhm.
get out of survival mode, and open up that vision and that heart.
And what a wonderful example too for meetings. You
Mm,
know, when if you do work in an organization that has a hustle culture,
mm,
as a leader, when you bring your team together, even if it's just a 30-minute check-in or stakes are really high outside the door, the way as a leader, if you close the door, take a deep breath, turn to your team, you can say something that doesn't seem too woo-woo. You can work your way out to woo-woo, but you know, but you can say, hey, I'm just going to take a drink of water. Anybody else need a drink of water?
yeah, yeah,
You know, like I'm just going to just model that for them. I need a second to arrive with you. How
yes.
are you? How are you? How are you? Fine.
Oh, look people in the eye. Like,
Mhm.
can you imagine starting a meeting and actually looking at people in the eye before you start the meeting?
Right. Yeah. Yes.
It's that
Yes.
simple.
What a wonderful tool.
Yeah.
Just help them be present. Now, I am a big fan. I have to say, how are we for time? We're good
We're
for
good.
time. I have to say I'm a big fan of the rosebud thorn exercise. Anyone who has either worked with me or lived with me knows this. And we started doing this with our children when they would bounce between houses, and every Friday we'd have a snack and we'd do rosebud thorn, which is a rose is tell us something great that's happened, a bud is something you're looking forward to, and a thorn is something you wish had gone differently.
Mm.
Now, I started that personally with my family, but I moved that out into my teams and I use it in my facilitation, especially during COVID when we came into a Zoom room or and the beautiful thing about that is it invites people to bring their collective humanity into the meeting. It invites them to share that they got a flat tire on the way to work and that really sucked and it's thrown them off. It invites them to share that their dog is sick and their neighbor has to come over. And then when they have the opportunity to put their humanity on full display, then they can be truly present. So I think that's a great way to start to start a meeting.
Well, okay, so I just want to highlight something as I'm propping in the first chapter of my book. If anybody wants to dive into character-driven leadership, the first chapter you can grab for free. I just popped it in. One of the things that Kimberly and I are talking about is pausing individually and pausing collectively. And you need to do
Mm,
both. You
mm,
need to, as an individual, pause and slow down. The other types of break we're talking about, so body break, soul break, mind break, time for self-reflection, and that thinking time, that
mm,
strategizing, planning before you go into a meeting. We rarely do the work to plan and prep and get into a meeting. Those are kind of individual ones, but you can also flip them to collective ones. Your time needs your um, team needs a body break. Kimberly, you went to a workshop or something, and you were talking about the body break in the middle of it.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful. I was at a full day leadership retreat and they brought in somebody to do some physical stretching and moving. And there's often a tiny little nod to it, but we were getting out of our chairs and we stretched our whole body head to toe. Not everybody wanted to participate in that, but I was so grateful that they did it. And then they also brought somebody in after another session to do a meditation. Now, anyone who's planned these day-long retreats knows the schedule is jam-packed. But what I really, really appreciated was they prioritized a body break and a mindfulness break for everybody to just create some space during the day.
I wish I could remember the nonprofit. It was a social media post. And I don't know what sound went off, but at some point during the morning, some sound went off in the office and they took like a 1 minute body break and they were doing, everybody had a different body break, right? Somebody's dancing, somebody's stretching, somebody's doing squats. But it was just that collectively they created the culture where that body break was okay. That pause to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And I love that because again, we are human beings. We're not little soldiers. And especially in a post-COVID world, it's become okay to be a complicated human being
Yeah,
in a way that it wasn't before. So,
100%. And we are. All right, let's talk about strategies.
yeah,
I'm
for
going to
sure.
run through these real quick and then we'll talk about them. So again, number one strategy, you need to schedule it in. By the way, this all comes from a whole chapter in my book called Pause. So again, we talked about the infinite leadership loop. Pause, ponder, pivot, proceed, people. This is from the whole chapter, Pause. Schedule it in. If it's not scheduled in, there's like it's just not going to happen. Please don't think that it's going to happen. Use reminders. We all have phones. We all have watches. We all have things in our space that can ding, blink, and boing and tell us to do something. Use tools. Apps are really good ones. The tool around like slowing down. One way to slow down that we haven't talked about is like journaling or doing some writing. So journal prompts. Again, there's like 6 pages of journal prompts in my book, but you don't need my book. Just Google journal prompts and you can find some if you want. ChatGPT is another place to find some journal prompts. Remove distractions when you're taking a little bit of a break. If you're going to go nap in your car, the world will not end if you turn off notifications on your phone for 15 minutes. Things do happen and it will be all right. It really will.
Really
Set
will.
boundaries. Go ahead, Kimberly.
No, well, the beautiful thing, what will happen if you set your timer for 15 minutes and close your eyes, is you will wake up refreshed
Yes.
and
I
more
always said,
prepared.
and if something did happen in those 15 minutes that was like not so good, I would probably be better able to handle it because I'd had the nap.
Oh, that's such a great point, Kathy. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it is. It just, yeah. Set boundaries, and this is what Shannon was talking about. It's not easy. And so what I wanted to highlight when Shannon was talking about that, we were talking, you were talking about the naps and we use naps. There are tons of ways of taking a break, going for a walk. Like I say, sitting down and writing for a few moments, just sitting in a space and maybe meditating, tons of ways to take a break.
Mhm.
You're not asking permission. You're communicating what you're doing.
Mhm.
Let me say that again. You are not asking permission to take a break.
Mhm.
Boundaries are not a question, they are a statement.
Mhm.
And so it's one of the things that we have to start. And again, we're inviting people around us to do the same thing in their own way. So boundaries have to be not in a bitchy, I'm like, "Ugh," right? But just like, hey, as Kimberly said, if I'm going to be a sustainable leader, I need a nap. So I'll see you in 15 minutes. Or I used to say to my admin, going for a walk around the block. I'll be back. And she knew. I was gone literally 5 minutes. It was a small block.
You know,
Wasn't
back in the 80s, I used, when I was a secretary, my boss used to say to me, I'm going down to the bar. Come and get me if there's anything important. I don't think that they do that anymore. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it was a different time.
Oh,
$1988.
that makes me think about the story you're talking about your client and the cup of tea.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this came out just in my session yesterday with a client where she had scheduled office hours to be available for her staff every other week on a certain day of the week. And she didn't understand why no one was taking her up on that. And so what she came, this was all her with my prompts. She decided that what she would do is make a pot of tea and do her office hours in the office kitchen
Nice.
and maybe bring some cookies or something. Make it fun, make it analog, and be more present where they were instead of expecting them to come into her office. So I hope that that works for her. I think it will because I think it was a really cool idea.
But it's a way of her slowing down and a way of creating that culture in the organization.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
the last way we want to talk about strategies is integrating pauses into your daily routines. We just talked about between meetings, take that deep breath. It used to be before the phone rang that you took a deep breath. I don't know if phones ring anymore. But when the bloink comes that you've got a chat message or the text message, doesn't mean you need to pick it up and react like you're Pavlov's dog, right? You can take a deep breath. and then choose how to respond. I had somebody say yesterday, um, by doing that, she said, I didn't do that. Found the message back. She like
Mm,
thought, ooh, maybe I'll say that differently. And that's
yeah.
just that micro pause.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying around, and I didn't know this. I mean, you're not, what am I trying to say? Wish I could impart this on my children that chilling out is not sitting there scrolling through your phone, right?
That's
The I That's a distraction, avoidance from your life. But the being intentional around, I need to nourish my mind, my body, and my soul with a nap or a rest of some kind. I need to cultivate inner wisdom and clarity. That's super smart, Kathy. This is where journaling, a spiritual practice, what would it take for you, and then investing in your own personal and professional development. And we talk about this all the time, emerging into the next best version of who
yes,
you are.
yes,
We need to constantly be growing, and it's the combination of all those things. It's a lot of work, and it's a practice, which is why I love that you turned it into an infinity loop.
yes, yes. And it's a practice again that we do individually and collectively, but we also do it individually for the agency or program or organization we work in, but we need to do it individually for ourselves. I was just thinking about Paul Nazareth talking about like he takes a whole day to do his strategic plan, individual strategic plan, right?
Mhm.
Um, we need time to step back and plan for the coaching or corrective conversation we have to have with our employee. Like I need to slow down and figure out what I'm going to say, and also identify the triggers that might set me off, do all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but then I also need to step back and go, what kind of a leader do I want to be? What are
Mhm.
the character traits that I want to exude? What's the impact I want to have? And that doesn't happen in the shower. Sometimes it does in little micro moments, but it happens when you sit down, just like as in an organization, and you put some papers and sticky notes on a piece of paper on a table, and you sort through them, and you journal and you note and you organize, and you're like, oh, those are my values. Oh, I'm not aligned with those values, am I? Or I said
Mhm.
health and wellness is important, or I say that I'm there for my staff, and ooh, haven't been doing that so much lately. What am I going to do about that? And so that's that inner sort of stepping back and doing that bigger pause.
Mhm. Yeah. Power of the leadership pause. I mean, it's a remarkable tool, and it's something that models a way to navigate your work life for your team. And it also will help you protect yourself from burning out, because, this is important work that we're doing, and the world needs us to be well.
100%. 100%. I'm popping in Kimberly's newsletter right now, and I'm spelling Kimberly's name wrong. I'm just going to pop the newsletter in.
Thank you. Yeah, so this if you're interested in getting little reminder in your email box, I have a newsletter called The Compassionate Executive for folks who believe in centering wellness and compassion in their leadership journey. And they're just little bit, all of this work, you and I do it too. So we find little gems and resources and support and lift each other, because I think at the end of the day, it really, it matters. What kind of leader do you want to be remembered for? And somebody said at this leadership retreat, because if you're a leader and nobody's following you, you're just going for a walk. That
100%.
was so
100%.
funny.
That's so true. And I also just popped a link in starting next Wednesday. I'm doing a book club for character-driven leadership. If you want to join, Kimberly and I are doing this for another 4 weeks.
4 more weeks.
Four
Gonna
more
keep getting
weeks.
better and better and better.
Yeah, next week we're going to dive into what is character. So the book is called Character Driven Leadership. What is character and why does that matter? So we will make sure that the links for that go out into the world of LinkedIn, and you'll be able to join and watch the replay as well. If you're watching the replay, please pop questions or comments in as well, just so that we can help understand if this is resonating with you, if you have any more questions or something you want us to talk about in future sessions.
So why I'm really excited about talking about character is because I don't know that it's something people really understand. You know, when my children were in school in Simcoe County in grade school, they had commit to character, and every couple of weeks, one of my kids would come home with a little certificate. Oh, Chase, we got this award for demonstrating empathy. He had no idea what that meant. He just knew he got a certificate, right?
Yeah.
So they're the key to everything. And some people call it values aligned leadership, but it's extremely important in knowing what your values are, whether your actions are in alignment with them, and how they're shifting over time. I've talked about values as a compass. They help point you to your true north, right?
Yeah.
But they do shift over time. And so I'm really excited to get into our conversation next week with you, Kathy. And I hope that people join us and share this LinkedIn Live and let us know if these conversations are helpful.
And Shannon just commented she's going to take a break. Go take a break, everyone.
Yay! All right, Shannon, thanks for coming.
All right, we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.